I'm going to show you now 4 different techniques to use against a slow or weak serve. Okay, number 1, as far as technique is concerned against slow serves, what grip do we want to use? Well, you can use whatever. You can use your Continental, your Eastern, your Semi-Western. However, I recommend Semi-Western because it enables you to really tee off and not have to hold back. You don't have to be tentative on that swing. You can take a good swing at the ball and you're going to get some topspin, which will pull the ball back down. Now remember, our Semi-Western grip, when we bring the racket back, the racket face is closed at the low point of the backswing. Now remember, as long as you get a good foot below the contact point, as you swing up, the racket naturally becomes vertical. If you see there, I've got a vertical racket when I'm making contact with the ball. Now, if I don't play around with my wrist and forearm, and I just swing from my shoulder, the racket will stay vertical in this area for about a foot to a foot and a half. Notice how the racket is staying vertical. When you make contact with the ball's on the strings for a millisecond, it's gone. So there's no need to do this. You don't have to roll over. Just keep going up, keep finishing high. That's going to impart topspin. The topspin is what's going to bring the ball back down in the court. Now, let's say you're up against the slow second serve and the ball is sailing long. Increase your topspin. How do you do that? You increase the angle of your swing. Now watch. I've got a topspin swing here. My racket is down low, and let's say I swing up, and there's my finish. Now that's a low to high swing, and the angle of that swing was approximately, let's say, like this. This is the low point of the swing, this is the finish. Now, as long as I swing like that, low to high, I'm going to impart some forward spin to the ball, some topspin. When you get the ball spinning forward like that, it creates air pressure on top of the ball. So it's always pushing the ball back down once the ball spins forward. Okay, now, if we're hitting long, we have to create more spin or RPMs. We've got to get the ball spinning faster because that's going to create more air pressure to push the ball down quicker. So we increase the angle of our swing. If you're up against a slow server and you're still hitting long, increase the angle. So you start a little lower and you come up quicker, you swing up on more of an angle, and let's say your angle's more like this, that's going to give you more spin, more RPMs, and the ball will come down quicker. So remember that a semi-western grip works well against the slow server because you don't have to hold back. You can take a nice healthy swing at the ball. Okay, remember, if you're too wristy or if you're rolling the forearm when you're trying to hit that slow serve, you're going to get all kinds of scenarios. Remember, most players that are wristy are coming into the hitting zone with a slightly open racket face. Now, all of these shots are going to go long. Anytime the racket's laid back slightly, it's going to go long. So as you start to roll, okay, but all this is long. It's all long until you get to here, until you get to vertical. Okay, that shot will stay in, but now you're rolling again, and all these shots start to go down. So remember, if you're a wrist roller, you're only going to have that one boom, opportunity right there to keep the ball in the court. On the other hand, if you don't use the wrist and the forearm, and if you just swing from the shoulder, watch what happens. Now, you start below the ball, you're coming up. By the time you get to the contact point, the racket's vertical. Now, remember, the racket will stay vertical for a foot to a foot and a half as long as you're swinging from the shoulder. The racket's moving on a low to high plane. It stays vertical in that hitting area for a foot to a foot and a half. So you've got a foot to a foot and a half where the racket's vertical. On the other hand, if you're rolling the wrist and forearm, you've only got, boom, that one moment, that 1 millisecond to keep the ball in the court. So remember, swing from your shoulder and use as little wrist and forearm movement as possible.
Here the returner is moving forward and attacking with a big swing on a slow serve. Notice the swing is from the shoulder, and the racket head stays vertical in the contact area for about 1 to 1.5 feet.